Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the We Know Love Island podcast here on RHAP. Today, we will be talking about Love Island Games episodes. It's either 14 and 15 or 15 and 16. I need to confirm.
15 and 16.
15 and 16. My bad, everybody. We're talking 15 and 16 of Love Island Games Season 2. I'm, of course, Kirsten MacInnis, and you already heard it. Brian Scally is not here today. He was unavailable, but thankfully, Pooya Zambakili was happy to jump in and help. You know him from the Traders coverage. You know him from 90 Day Fiancé podcast. You know him from Pooya Fridays during Big Brother. Pooya Zambakili. Pooya, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. I am always happy to come through and talk Love Island with you, Kirsten, even if it did mean I watched 16 episodes in 48 hours. I am here and I have all the knowledge needed to talk this end game, which, listen, let me say this much. It worked a lot better on the binge. I feel like I've seen a lot of negativity on the season. It didn't hit quite that way when you're watching them all in succession.
Yeah, and I've seen negativity about the season too, but I've been having fun. I think a lot of, regular Love Island viewers don't necessarily love when it gets into the game and the strategy more, and this has been such a strategy heavy season, and so I think that might be part of the problem. But I've been having fun. I think Scally's been having fun. If he hasn't been, he lied to me about it. So that's awkward. But what are your thoughts so far after I really thought you were already watching it, so I'm sorry that you binged it all for me. What are your thoughts after the binge?
No, I mean, like I said, I was having a good time with it. Like, so much so that I wanted to finish it. Like, I wanted to catch up proper because, there was a world I could have watched the first 4 episodes and then watched the last 4 and then just been like, fine. But I was having a good time. The cast was very interesting to me. It felt both like they got some heavy hitters and some who's, and it ended up balancing out quite nicely. I find myself very perplexed as to who I'm rooting for at the end game here. But I think, you mentioned that some of the regular Love Island folk may not mess with the strategy of it all. I think some of these Islanders do not mess with the strategy of it all, which is why we are where we are, because I feel like some people look like gods of the game when you're looking at the rest of the cast. So,
yeah, there's definitely some people where when you hear them talking strategy, like specifically like Johnny, Toby, Tyrique, like when they're talking game, it really does seem like they're running circles around some of the other people, especially like Lucinda tends to not really get involved, but then Lucinda really impressed me in the Friday night episode. So we'll have to see what happens. So for those who are just jumping in because you want to listen to Pooya, which welcome, we appreciate you, but you should consider listening even when Pooya's not here. The last thing we saw was Kendall lost his duel and our beloved Nicola was medevaced after getting literally whacked in the face with a medicine ball, but she's thankfully okay. I have seen her do like the exit videos with Scally, and she seems to be doing well, in high spirits, just wasn't cleared to continue the competition. And immediately after this, Kendall's gone. The whole power squad says, okay, well, we're meeting at the fire pit, but not you, Andrea. You're no longer part of the power squad.
Messed up to really be like, all right, well, we got what we needed, so goodbye now. Even though we didn't say anything, and even though we did put your man through that, we're done with you. It was mean.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, it's like, just don't call it a power squad meetup because it's obviously just an alliance meetup, and Andrea's not in your alliance, and that's okay. And when the power squad minus Andrea's meeting, they're talking about, okay, well, Tyrique says, well, in terms of game aspect, we split up Kendall and Garbi, so that's good. Brutal. How do you feel about Tyrique? I mean, in general, but also just in this game's atmosphere.
So I've watched his first season. So I'm familiar with him. It's not my first rodeo. I feel like he does have his moments of, you are reminded who this man is. But at the end of the day, I hold no ill will to him because he is exactly who he advertises himself to be. He doesn't try and be any different. He's not trying to, he can maybe gaslight you a little bit to think he's changed or he can do better. But then his truth comes out, and instead of trying to hide it, he either owns up to it, admits to it, or tries to move on from it while admitting that he's done something, not trying to make it seem like, oh, well, I apologize, but also like I didn't do anything. Like he's not like that. No, I did the thing. And it was cheeky, but it's fine. So I can't fault him for anything. I really cannot.
Yeah, he's like, I did it and I meant to do it. And how can we move forward since I did it? I agree. I like that. Lucinda comments about, oh, Garbi's going to be upset. There's definitely a divide in the girls. And, this is where Johnny is coming in a real leadership position of like, don't let any of the pressure that the others are feeling make you feel bad. Like, we have the numbers. If we can just stay in power, we can protect each other. And then it just kind of flips over to Garbi saying, if anyone from the Power Squad tries to hug and kiss her, she will punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, I feel like, what did you think about the heat Garbi had here?
I mean, I understand why they wanted to split up Kendall and Garbi, kind of, because they had done okay in some duels. They were a tight couple, and they weren't part of this alliance structure of the like Toby, Tyrique, and Johnny situation. But at the same time, I mean, I guess they had the good social game. Like, I don't think anyone really wanted to go against them, but I don't think they're like that strong physically. So I feel like I wouldn't hate to have a Garbi Kendall couple in the end.
I think the issue is, alternatively, who would they have put in otherwise, right? Given all the divides they had and the mix up with the Power Squad. Because I don't think there's a lot of other options out there for them.
Yeah, it would have had to be. Wait, I can't even remember who the bottom three were anymore. This is horrible. I literally watched this less than a week ago. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of options because of the team challenge. We also get. Actually, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you feel about Isaiah and how he is navigating the like alliance structure of the house?
It's weird because he's like clearly in the middle and is associated with a lot of people. And he gets called out for this a couple of times, but then it doesn't feel like he really pays for that. And I think in part it helps that his partner here is Lucinda, who brings the British side, that alliance in closer also. And then, his biggest fault in these two episodes ends up being the fact that they did target Johnny and Gabby that first during the cards. But beyond that, he's rolled the middle kind of perfectly. And he is in a grouping that they see as very inoffensive and very weak. So it helps that in an alliance of 4 teams, they're seen as the 4th best team, which means we'll keep them, because if the 3 of us really want to get to the final 6 together, we just cut them. Little do they know what the twist may be to later on. But I think that that's how they were perceived, which meant that no one was really looking at them. I think also then you look at it from the outsiders looking inside of things. There was so much weird drama there that they just started looking at each other. So these two kind of slid by easy peasy.
Yeah, I almost think that Isaiah and Lucinda are in a similar position to what Kendall and Garbi had, but they just have the British connection to this big alliance, which I wish they would name. I guess it's the Power Squad Alliance, but I wish they had a real name. That would be fun. Isaiah and Josh get into a bit of a fight. Basically, Isaiah thought it could just be an unspoken thing that he and Josh are working together because they're friends in real life. And Josh is feeling like, I'm not getting pulled into things. I'm not getting included in conversations. I feel left out. And Isaiah's like, it's not like I'm having conversations without you. I thought we could just be together without talking about being together.
I think it's hard to have that expectation work out when you're not the one that's being put into duels every here and there. You're not in the couple that keeps getting split up every day. Like, I feel like his path has been so much more that he's like, no, enough of this hidden nonsense. I need very out in the open alliances because people keep poking at me, and that's not going to work for me.
Absolutely. So then before we get into the challenges, we do get some drama with, well, first of all, Johnny is scheming with Josh about how, like, yes, I'm with Toby and Tyrique, but I have different motivations than them. Like, I'm not motivated to take you out prematurely. But also, I guess it's the next morning that Toby goes to Garbi and is basically like, we could be better at the challenges than me and Sydney. So what do you say? Could we couple up? And Garbi does not listen. She said if anyone tried to hug or kiss her, she would punch them in the mouth. So he's lucky he didn't get hit, honestly.
Mhm.
And so Garbi goes to Sydney and tells her that Toby has said this. And Sydney's obviously furious because we've seen her be upset several times. Garbi also talks to Casey saying, like, we're coupling up, right? We have a game plan. He's like, yes. And it gets to like the interesting recoupling. So what did you think about Toby's plan to ditch Sydney to take Garbi on?
I think Toby's plan is a good one if the person he's looking to recruit doesn't feel burned by him. So that goes out the window the minute she feels burned. And I feel like the approach did give a little bit of a, well, where are you going to go really? You have nowhere else to go. So you better come with me. No, you're like Garbi's not someone who's going to let you have her agency. That's not going to happen. So I did like that. And I did like the, let me rat him out to Sydney. Now Casey was giving me nothing. So it's not like I could be like, no, Casey's a good pick for you. Casey was an unproven prospect. So he's doing nothing for me. But I think if you're Garbi at this point, you recognize that it don't matter who I'm with. I'm fighting for my life in this game. So I'm just going to go with the person I feel less icky about.
Yeah, and especially considering Sydney and Toby have been literally making out and cuddling in the bed, for him to pull this is pretty bad. And Sydney is very, very mad about it. And basically, she finds out right before it's the recoupling. So they're having a Vegas night, which also Casey says that Vegas is his favorite place in the entire world, which I felt was like a strange opinion. I don't know, though. I've never been to Vegas. What do you think about that?
I mean, I haven't either, but it looks like it'd be a fun weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, for me though, I enjoy gambling, but if I go gambling and I start losing, I'm not going to be like, yeah, we got to go back and win that loss back, because I know that's a mistake. So I wouldn't classify it as my favorite.
Yeah, that's for me. If you're gonna gamble, you have to go in being like, I'm willing to spend $50 to have fun tonight, and then when the amount of money or whatever you decide is gone, then the gambling
Treated like
is
the
over.
arcade. Yeah, you come in with a
Yeah.
preset amount of money. So what I usually do, actually, you know what? Let me not give up my secrets. Let me gatekeep
Ooh,
my
tell
information.
us.
No, basically, it's very easy for me. I will go and let's say with that $50, I'll gamble. If I go up 40, so I have $90 now, I'll pull the 40 out. That's winnings put on the side, and I gamble again with the 50 I came in with. And that way, it allows me to also pace myself where I can go take a lap and go do other stuff, then come back and gamble again. It's like a lot more of a patient game, but also I do not gamble in high stakes situation. I'm not gambling like hundreds, thousands of dollars. So I gamble my little dollars, and when I get a little extra 10, I'm like, that's a bonus right there.
That's so interesting because I think I would probably take my 50 out and then just gamble with
Play with the
what
winnings.
my excess is. But then I guess if you're winning big, then you end up with a lot and you probably shouldn't keep gambling with a lot.
Yeah. Like
Wow.
usually, yeah, that's the thing. It's like your baseline, because you want to keep what's on in the event that you lose it, you don't feel bad. You're like, that's always what I
Yeah.
anticipated losing. And then you're like, but wait, I made it back and then some later. So
No, that's smart. Pro gambling tips from Pooya. I love this.
yeah.
So they do the recoupling a little bit differently here because I was wondering, I was like, was it going to be girls' choice? Is it going to be boys' choice? How much of the episode is this going to take up? But they do it a little bit differently. So the girls all sit at a table that they have a bunch of tables for two. And then the men come in and they just sit at the table with the person they want to couple up with, which for the most part is fine. Everybody is, coupling up with who you do expect. But when it comes to Garbi, Casey's like trying to sit down and Toby like tries to take the chair and they're like running around the table, like fighting over the chair.
You know, the birthplace, I'd like to think that the place where the word ick became popular was Love Island. This was the most ick thing I've seen on Love Island in a minute. And this season also had people baby birding each other. So this was wild. Toby, it was really cringe watching him trying to hold on to that chair for dear life. I do love Casey's decision of, I'm just going to go sit in the other seat that he's not touching. Because what is he going to do? Not give her seat back? Like, that doesn't make sense. So he gets an earful. At this point, there's no looking back. I think here's my thought. Here was my 2 cents. I think what I would have done is, if I'm Toby, right? Let's say I wanted to be with Garbi. The minute I see this is the recoupling, I abandon the plan. I stick with Sydney. There is no point making a public spectacle like this of yourself, because if Casey fights back even a little, you look foolish and you've burned 2 allies now, like automatically. And one of them you have to go sit with and play the rest of the game out with. So I think he should have abandoned this plan.
Well, and I have to imagine that if he had gone to the seat first and sat down across from Garbi, and Garbi goes, I don't want to be coupled up with you, that there's like some room for her to say, no, I want Casey. And then he just has to go back to Sydney with his tail between his legs again. Like, ridiculous that he did this.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sydney cusses him out, calls him an idiot, says he's a clown. I love that. She's like, that was such a spectacle. And of course, because you're literally a clown.
Well, also then what happens is she's like, well, you don't believe in me then. That's what it is. And he's like, no, you don't believe in yourself, which, you know, you want to talk about making a bad thing worse. That's how you do it, folks. That was brutal.
And Sid is not the one. Like, she is someone who will get into a fight, who will stand up for herself at like every opportunity. And she's like, you are literally an idiot. This is insane. But they have to move on because they have a night of table games to determine who will be safe and who will be vulnerable out of these couples. And so the first challenge is where they were rolling the ball down the table. And so there was basically like a table, and there was a section at the end with like each couple's names.
Oh, no, wait.
No, the shuffleboard was second. The shuffleboard was combined with the martinis.
Shoot, you're right.
It was like a table. It was like a table maze is the word I was trying to look for. And so, of course, they like draw to see who goes first, and Toby and Sydney get to go first, and they literally are fighting and they do not work anything out. And so when it's their turn to actually go, Toby's like, okay, well, we're targeting Garbi and Casey. And Sid's like, whoa, what do you mean we're targeting Garbi and Casey? Like, that's not my decision. But they target Garbi and Casey, they get their first ball in, and then with their other 2, they pivot to Andrea and Josh, which Sydney is on board for. Actually wild. Like,
this was the most, like, this is where the episode started going sideways for me, because both challenges, I talked about this earlier, but because not everyone's on the same page strategy wise, this is very infuriating to watch, because there's a clear hierarchy that has been built, that has been locked in, that calls themselves the Power Squad. They just said, Andrea, goodbye. We said we used what we needed and you can leave now. So everyone else should recognize, bruh, these 6 are not going to waver. And like the rest of us need to look at this strategically and get rid of some of these people. They all recognize Johnny and Gabby are going to demolish us in the finals. We cannot have them be here early on, and they're just letting them have it. And I think the thing is, though, it wouldn't be as entertaining if you didn't have people who are just messy in Love Island. It makes the show not Love Island, you know? Same thing why I'm very against making the traders be all strategy heads, because then it's not the same show anymore. So that being said, it was very tough because specifically with these challenges, the way they're set up, it didn't incentivize you to split your votes at any point, because all that does is piss off 2 teams. They pile on you anyway. You're done. But also there were other people they should have put their points on, and they didn't. And I think everyone just like shooting at each other then allowed, you know, the Tyriques, the Johnnies, the Gabbys, like they basically dictated who was going to be vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. What I was a little bit surprised about is when there was, you know, like especially the first shot that Toby and Sid take when they're not in agreement, like Sydney locks in and does the table maze properly to ensure that it still goes into that box. Like, why wouldn't you sabotage that?
Yeah. I
Like,
don't
what are we
understand.
like, nobody sabotaged, like, it looked like everyone was just really good at the table maze, and at the end, Garbi and Casey are vulnerable because most people put
Yeah.
all 3 of their balls in there, and it seems like everyone was quite good at the challenge for the most part. I think we only saw 1 ball actually get wasted and go down the, like, the red sidearms.
Just one. Everyone else
Yeah.
nailed where no one put it in the wrong hole, basically, at
Mhm.
all. The one thing I want to say, remind me of this, Kirsten. When we get to the end game of Love Island games, is it the same as Love Island proper, where there's 2 envelopes, one of them has the money, one of them doesn't, and then that person decides if they're splitting or not?
It is, but in the first Love Island games, everyone who was in the season got to vote on which person they thought should get the money and have the decision instead of
Oh,
it being, like,
true.
random. So it
Okay.
was, I guess it's not an envelope at all. It's just everyone voted, and
I remember that
we've
now.
we have no reason to know that that wouldn't be the case, and it does seem like everyone who was eliminated is still in Fiji posting, like, TikToks from the resort
Okay.
and being able to watch the show, so I think they will be involved in the finale when we see it on Sunday night.
Ugh, I'm excited
Um,
for that. That's gonna be
yeah,
good.
I
Okay.
think it'll be, I mean, honestly, you caught up just in time. You get the finale on Sunday, and then you watch the
Done.
whole season. That's good timing.
Yeah, exactly. He's okay. So that's a good reminder because my thought was, if I'm Sydney, am I really going to go to the end, hope we win the final duel just for the 50-50 of who gets, I get the envelope and I can take the money from him? Now realizing it's a vote makes more sense why she's cooperating a little bit. That I understand now. That
Yeah.
being said, it was again weird. I just felt like there's a lot of these players that just kind of let the stronger
Mhm.
players get through these very clear places where, yeah, there's no duel here. Like, someone's going to be vulnerable and leave. You don't have to be that person necessarily. If you're
Mhm.
trying to take your shot, like if you're like, no, 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 but then Johnny and Gabby will target us. How are okay? But the alternative is they survive, you somehow survive, and then you face off in a duel. Is that better for you? Because that doesn't feel like the move.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like, if you follow their lead and take out everyone, like, yeah, ultimately you're aligned because Sid's with Toby, obviously, but, like, Sydney is by far the least connected to everyone else in those couples. So I could see that being the target. Like, if it comes to 3 and they have to target each other, I could see them targeting them instead, right? So it's a little tricky there. They then go on to their second challenge. And so this one was kind of well, I don't want to, interesting is not the right word, but basically each player in each couple would do a shuffle ball, and then the combined score would be how many drinks each they could splash in a couple's face, and each, like, martini splash counted as a vote against that couple. So whoever got splashed the most would then be vulnerable to be dumped from the island.
Again, I like the idea of you're giving them more, like if they score more, they can splash on other people. It doesn't stop it and it doesn't incentivize anybody to piss any but one couple off. So,
Mhm.
and like when there's enough of a grouping, they're going to pile on. I think this is maybe more of a Love Island Games issue, like the production issue, rather than the contestants, is that
Mhm.
they're still treating this like it's Love Island regular when a lot of these islanders have smart enough to, if we just agree to work with each other, we can control this and no one has to worry about it. Because you're basically giving a fixed alliance of 6 or 8, if you count Isaiah and Lucinda. You're giving them the options of upwards of 24 glasses, 24 votes.
Mhm.
If I'm doing the math right, I'm probably not. I don't care. You're giving them a lot more votes, and they're just going to put them in the same spot anyway, versus if you gave them all one each. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they need to switch it up.
Well, because the problem too is that many of these people have actually gone on to the regular challenge on MTV, right? So, like, Gabby's been on the challenge, Johnny's been on the challenge, Justine's been on the challenge. I don't think they're the only ones, but I can't remember off the top of my head because I don't watch the challenge anymore. Sorry, challenge watchers. So it's like people then go on these other shows and they're able to bring in more strategy. And so I think that Love Island Games is becoming a lot more strategic quite quickly. And so it's kind of hard for production to keep up. But I don't think all too much was that interesting in this challenge. Obviously, Josh and Andrea got the vast majority of drinks splashed in their face. Um, Andrea's like turning to the side and then complaining that the drink is getting in her ear. And I'm like, girl, you put your ear first.
Yeah, you gave your good ear over for this. I did like Josh's strategy of let me just get a drink out of the deal. Why not?
At a certain point, yeah. But then, like, Josh's attitude throughout both of the episodes, he is such a poor loser. And, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
understand why he's upset because he feels that physically he can beat everybody in any of these challenges and, like, face me in a duel if you're worried about me, right? But there's a whole social structure that he has obviously not deigned to involve himself in. And then he's mad when he's not involved, and he'll call people pussies. He's like really like talking down to people, saying, "Oh, face me like a man." And like when Justine and Tyrique throw their drinks at Josh and Andrea, he asks her, "Oh, do you just do whatever Tyrique says?" Which is crazy. Like, you know Justine in real life. That's crazy.
From how early was it when Josh said the whole like, yeah, I'm not here to fuck off. Like he has been a poor sport from the beginning.
Yes.
Even though I was rooting for his ass by the end here, an underdog. How can I say no? I 100% cosign. He's been a poor sport. He like held a lot of heat for why would you wouldn't just tell me straight up you had to kiss me to do it. It's like, yeah, they literally prompted them to kiss to do it. Like, what is your dumbass saying? Yeah, he definitely gives me self-righteous and that energy. I get it, man. It is frustrating to be in a position where everyone's dunking on you. It is. It's a tough spot to be in, but also it is the game and they bested you. So what do you want to do? You're clearly not going to get a rise out of Tyrique. The man is unrisable. He's just going to talk shit to you. So if your thing is like, let me get under their skin, let me get in their head a little bit, that's not going to happen.
No, everyone is so clearly in Josh's head that he can't get in anybody's. Like, Tyrique just goes, "Oh, well, I thought maybe you'd like to see Kendall and Chris again," when he's talking crazy to Justine. And this is where Josh says, "I thought it was Love Island games, not friend games." Like, Tyrique, I can't believe Tyrique gets to be here and hasn't even done anything. It's like, no, Tyrique has done a lot socially and strategically to protect himself from having to do as many duels as you. It's not friend games. It's called a game. So you have to play it.
Exactly.
So this is where they then go into the third game. Obviously, Josh and Andrea are vulnerable. And it's literally just pulling cards. And so there's a bunch of cards on pegs. You pull a card, and each card will ultimately count as a vote towards a couple that you'll be voting to make vulnerable. If you draw a joker, it cancels out all of the cards that you've previously drawn, and you can just keep drawing as many times as you want. Toby immediately gets a joker and says, like, wow, that's fitting, which I did love. Andrea and Josh draw twice. Justine and Tyrique go twice. Garbi and Johnny also immediately get a joker. Isaiah and Lucinda pull 3 times. And it's like, I mean, it's not that fun to watch people just drawing a card. Like, they're trying to like, ooh, which one are you gonna pick? What's the strategy in picking? It's cards. There's no strategy.
It's
Stop
cards.
That.
It's if we don't try to go for 5, we're going to be vulnerable. So we're just gonna go for 5 cards and hope we don't hit a joker. Like, again, there's no strat here. I think this is also where, like, you got kind of, as someone who comes in with strategy knowledge of other shows, you have to leave some of that at the door, because I couldn't tell you why and how we ended up with Johnny and Garbi vulnerable here.
Yeah, so basically, well, it's interesting too, because Isaiah in both of the second 2 games targets Johnny versus trying to target Toby or Tyrique, which I thought was very interesting considering he knows Johnny in real life and has for longer. But based on the votes, I think it's because of how Tyrique votes, it puts Sydney and Toby and Johnny and Garbi tied in points, and it goes to a tiebreaker. And it's literally just high card wins. So Sydney and Toby are safe. Johnny and Gabby are vulnerable.
Yeah, he literally makes it so that they tie. And you know, kind of he doesn't piss off Johnny because I think for Johnny, he's like, well, I think alternatively he was probably gonna pick Toby, like side
Yeah.
with Toby. Toby's the one who's livid that why would you even make it be this way? Like this makes no sense. And I do like the argument that he makes where it's like, well, it kind of I had a feeling it would work out. Did you, Tyrique? You had a
So
feeling it was
funny.
gonna work out? Okay.
And it's also like, I kind of understand because by making it a tie, he's still being like, I would be fine with either of you being in, so that he could, if one of them got eliminated, he could still work with whoever's left. Like, I wasn't sure what to do, and so I didn't want to be the deciding votes. I could kind of understand that, but of course that's not how he justifies it. So then we end up with our vulnerable couples. So Garbi and Casey, Andrea and Josh, and Johnny and Gabby are all vulnerable. And so now they have an option. There is a wheel. It is just split between white and red spots. And if you choose to gamble your safety, a ball will be thrown like in roulette. If it lands on red, you'll be safe. If it lands on white, you'll be dumped immediately from the island. Um, or you could choose for a safe couple to decide if you're safe or not. And I think it was like one couple would be chosen at random to vote on who goes home. I don't it didn't happen. So we didn't really get the full details on that, but each couple drew a card to determine the order in which they would make this decision. Johnny and Gabby and Andrea and Josh both choose that they would rather have an Islander couple vote. They couldn't bear to go on a wheel. But Garbi and Casey think that they're going to get voted out anyway, so they might as well gamble. So they spin the wheel. And this is where the Thursday episode ends, which I was like, okay, so they're going home. Because I think if they had stayed, that it would have been a different cliffhanger on who's actually going to go home. They wanted us to
Yeah.
think there's a chance that they stay
And you know,
versus this.
thank God I finally caught up with the show today, hours before watching episode 16, because that would have done my head in if I had to wait a full overnight to see what would happen. But that was the beginning of just the wind being taken out of the sails, Kirsten, right? We come back
Yeah.
with this episode immediately to them just leaving unceremoniously. And I feel like the two dumpings we had in this episode, both were such meh, nothing happened, didn't matter, that it kind of felt pointless.
Yeah, it just works for getting the numbers down before the finale. So I guess we'll have to see what goes from there. Garbi and Casey do not regret gambling, but as they're leaving the villa, Isaiah's like, Casey, none of us were gonna vote you out. Like, what do you mean? And Casey's like, oh my god, please don't tell me that right now. Which, yeah, like, Isaiah, shut up, don't say that.
Yeah, even if you meant it, no need at this point.
Yeah. So Toby does kind of apologize to Sydney, but it's not in the Tyrique way of like really owning what you do. Like, he's still trying to justify the chairs thing. And like Sid says, I don't trust him. I don't respect him. Like, you don't believe in me. It is what it is. He's like, no, it's not that. It's not that I don't believe in you, but like he doesn't.
I think the other part of it also, and either I didn't pay attention to this earlier in the season or I just noticed it now, is that Sydney does bring up that her and Toby talked before this. Like this is someone she's talked to prior to Love Island Games, so it's an extra hurt on top of that also. And I feel like this is the type of show where I think conversations like this need to happen during, where you have to express like, hey, listen, I very much care about you. It's weighing on my mind that I don't know if we will win together as a team. So I'm looking into other options, or I'm looking to explore. The problem is Toby basically made it seem like it's an open shut. He's with Sydney. It's done, whatever dusted. And then last second decides to switch up and not say anything to her. So why wouldn't she doubt anything he says from here on out?
100%. And yeah, what we had heard about them before Love Island Games was that they had met at the premiere party for Love Island Games season 1 and they had made out. But other than that, we don't really know I think that's the extent of the connection beforehand. They maybe hadn't talked beyond that, but still he was acting like it was a relationship and then tried to throw it away without even talking to her first. And this is where then we get, Tyrique explaining the gambling to Toby, and Toby being like, yeah, I'm still not happy. Like, we would have been totally done if it hadn't worked out, but I'm still not happy with this. I'm screwed over. I can't even go to the end together with Sydney, but there's no more recoupling, so I have to be with Sydney. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you made your bed, man. You made your bed. You took a very big gamble, and it didn't work out for you the way it did Johnny, where Johnny was able to remove himself from Andrea, back that he'll get picked in this gift thing, gets gifted Garbi, arguably the most physically dominant woman in the season, and
Yep.
then the person he burned leaves immediately. Like, he lucked out so hard, whereas Toby did it so poorly that he just got stuck with his consequences and now is running or getting close to running the final with the person he's burned the most in the villa. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
I think Toby wants to be able to move like Tyrique so badly, but just hasn't mastered that like kind of roguish, like, I know I'm bad. I shouldn't have done it, but I did kind of thing. So it's harder to forgive him than it would be. But he says, you know what? I'm someone who, when someone screws me over, I cut them out immediately. I'm getting the sense that Sydney's the same as me. So I'm just going to have to continue offering the olive branch to make her feel safe so that we can move forward together. He then apologizes again. She once again is like, well, what are you apologizing for? I feel like he did a much better job apologizing this time. He's like, I'm apologizing for the disrespect. I'm apologizing for, not actually communicating with you. I'm like, he had a list of actual things he was apologizing for. So I felt like it was much better than the previous attempts.
Yeah, it's a hard spot because, if you're Sydney, you're like, well, you have no other choice but to do this. So it's hard to take it as very authentic. But at the end of the day, if it was authentic, he nailed all the points, right? So at
Yeah,
least that's good. It's the very least you can do. I mean, we've seen people in this villa do each other wrong and then fix it and move on. And we have that embodied in Tyrique and Justine, who, you know,
absolutely.
came from a big drama point and now we're running this final together like fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Sydney talks to Gabby and Justine, saying, well, he keeps just explaining that it's a game, but like, I'm still upset. I knew him from the outside. It's over. And she says in confessional, like, all I can do is my best. I'm used to being underestimated. And like, he can ask Zay about that if he wants. I was like, okay, girl, spicy. We do also get Toby really pushing Lucinda, like, you have to shoot at Josh and Andrea in this challenge. Like, it's us or them. Lucinda really does not want to target Andrea because they've been close from day one. And Lucinda even tells Isaiah, like, I think like Toby and Tyrique and Johnny need us more than we need them. So I think that we can do whatever we decide to do.
Well, it's funny because then Isaiah's like, yeah, well, I did what you wanted last time. I knew going after Josh and Andrea, they would not think twice. They'd be like, they'd understand. But Johnny, I had no reason to burn, and we went after him. So I feel like it was very clear to me that Isaiah wanted to mend that fence as well as
Mm-hmm.
Lucinda was like, well, I don't want to, piss anybody off, but also, and I think for her, it's easier to justify it when she's like, well, I saved my girl once. So now it's out of my control. They're all going to go after her anyway. So I might as well also go that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. So they have their last battle to get into the finale tonight. It's called Shoot Your Shot. It is sponsored by the NBA. We find out that Andrea played basketball for 10 years, which she says, if you know me, you know I played basketball for 10 years. To which I was like, I guess I don't know you because that fact was not in my brain.
The only basketball player I can think of is Chris in Love Island. And that's because he could be playing ball like elsewhere
Yeah,
right now. He
he
could be
could be
playing
playing
ball
ball
overseas.
overseas.
Yeah.
I think Chris is going to be devastated that he missed this challenge. Like
Hmm.
that's really gonna hurt him. Uh, so basically, there's a bunch of basketballs in the middle of a bunch of hoops, and in round one, the girls will shoot baskets, and the boys have to like bring them balls, but they also have to like run a full lap every time they bring them a ball, and you just are gonna fill as many like there's I don't know, there's like tubes under the basket and you're just trying to fill as many balls into those tubes as possible over 2 rounds. You can steal in the first round you can steal balls from other couples to shoot into your own columns. And at the end of the first round, whoever's the fewest shots will have the white basketball. And you do not want the white basketball.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I again think the other 4 teams made the 100% right call. We all have one team we're targeting, so the minute it's time to scoop their balls, we scoop the balls from them and we take it away from them. But I also think that the game was flawed because it's silly that these two were clearly in the lead before the buzzer hit and they had to steal balls, and they end the round with 0 balls. Kirsten, like Andrea said, you know how fucking demoralizing it is to be shooting balls and then just have people ready to scoop your 1 ball?
Yeah, she's like, it's a joke. And like, yeah, it is. I do want to push back though. I think that Sydney actually had the most balls before the timer went. Sydney
You're right.
was crushing
They were
it.
second. They were second.
But they were still, again, second place to having no balls is extremely, extremely demoralizing. And this is where Josh calls everyone pussies for targeting them. And it's like, dude, just accept that you're a threat and that you're being targeted because you're a threat and take it as a compliment, because this like man-child behavior is not cute.
Right.
And so then
yeah, because I'm trying to workshop and I'm like, could they have done this in heats and had it be like you can, have it be like 2 teams facing off and then 1 team can make it through, but then you can do the stealing thing. I don't know. I feel like there was ways to do this that would have been a little more exciting, but as the format stood, it made sense for everyone else to do exactly what they did.
And the first round to me was way more interesting than the second round because at least people were shooting baskets in the first round. In round 2, it's the women have to get the balls for the men and the men are shooting baskets. And when the balls in the middle run out, there is no stealing balls. And the goal is to not have the white ball in one of your columns at the end. And so like the men are shooting baskets and then when the ball goes down, they're just throwing it right into the middle again because if they get the white ball, they want to be able to just immediately get rid of it without having to clear a bunch of balls. And Josh and Andrea make the strategic decision that they're going to wait and count to try to get till there's only about 15 seconds left in the round. And then they're going to shoot the white ball into whoever has the most balls in their column. What did you think about this strategy?
I think this was so idiotic. And here's why. I think that the idea of getting a buzzer beater is sound, right? Because this is like a game of hot potato or musical chairs. You just want to be the person next to the chair at the last possible second. So that logic tracks. However, you have a finite number of minutes that I do not think anyone can anticipate being able to accurately count 5 minutes in the midst of insanity happening all over them and loudness. And even then, I think you have to be a lot more conservative with your time. Like count up to 4 minutes, not up to 5 minutes, because what happens more often than not is you will go over versus you going under. So I think that was bad. I also think that if it was the boys are now shooting, Josh, you have practiced 0 baskets. Should you not try and warm up a little, get a couple in a row? Sydney found flow state once she started hitting them. I think you need to practice a little. I'm not putting all my hopes on, okay, hopefully Josh isn't rusty and gets this on the first try on the team we want to get. And then they don't fire it back at us with time to spare. Like, I do understand. Like, I think the other teams made the right call of emptying their shit, which is funny because I think that did open the door for Isaiah and Lucinda to just keep some balls because who's going after them? No one's probably going after them. So I just felt like I like the idea of the ball's going to come back to you anyway, but it would have almost been better to make some, like, maybe count up to 3 minutes and then put the ball in one of their baskets and have them freak out or have them think, oh, they tried to play me. I've also been counting. I counted 3 minutes. We'll wait. Because I think you put it in someone else's hands, it'll blow up way before you mess up. So I think that's where they went wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of just giving someone else the opportunity to make the mistake rather than being able to do it themselves, because in addition to all the chaos and counting minutes, they're also having a full-blown conversation. And to me, I'm like, if you're not having a full-blown conversation of counting to the whatever 600 seconds or whatever, no, that's 10 minutes.
Well, at one
Whatever.
point, he said like 20. She was like, I lost count. He's like 24. She's like, oh, yeah, 324. I was like, 300 is 5 minutes. Like, I don't know why you're counting past 300 here. What are you counting even?
Well, I think that they were potentially counting like to 60, and then they counted to 60 again as like one.
It was 3 minutes 24.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, never mind. I
That's my
rescind my
guess.
disc. That
But
makes
again,
sense.
it's not clear that that's what they were doing, because their actions were just so nonsensical. So then we get the ultimate just kind of like fart of a challenge, because they never throw it, and then the buzzer goes and they still just have the white ball from round 1, and Josh and Andrea are being dumped from the island.
Yep, and that's it. It just didn't matter. Like, it was such a ho-hum ending to what could have been a very exciting end if like the wrong team gets eliminated here. It could have opened up so much. I do think there's a world where the public would have saved them also if it came to the votes. So the fact that they just kind of held the grenade and went out with it leaves us with Lucinda and Isaiah in the finals, which, listen, all the credit to them. Well done. They are, I think the public's vote is determining who wins this season. I don't back Lucinda and Isaiah to win a duel. I could be wrong, and I would love to be wrong, but they're just not giving me winning the duel scenario, which then leaves us with our final 3 vulnerable couples here, where we're granting one safety, I guess. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, we're voting for our favorite who we want in the finale, and they'll go into the finale, and then I guess
the others
the remaining, I think the remaining 2 couples will probably either the lowest votes will get dumped, or maybe those 2 couples will have to then compete against each other to go into the final challenge, because they never had votes in season 1, so this is all kind of new.
In season 1, there was 3 finalist teams.
Yes.
3 teams ran the final, right? So, I mean, we'll find out. I guess we'll just find out.
Yeah, I think that like it's possible that the team with the least votes will just get eliminated at the start of the finale. But I think it's also possible that the 2 teams that don't have the most votes could do a duel.
Yeah.
I think that would be more fun, because I think the big problem with Love Island games is that the duels feel so high stakes and are always so entertaining, and then the other challenges kind of fall short. So having one more duel before the end, I would personally enjoy, but I'm also like, damn, how long is this episode going to be? Like 3 hours?
It's so funny that the duels are very much challenge coded, but then the challenges are so Love Island. And it's like, we need to find a middle here, because on one hand, you've got 2 people who ended up getting eliminated from the duel because of injuries that could have been prevented. And then on the other side, it's like, wow, someone's fate in the game got decided because they couldn't spit water in their partner's mouth nice enough. Like, are we serious or are we jokey? Which, again, I think we're more jokey, but then let's make it a little more jokey then. I don't know. Now, that being said, Kirsten, who would you want the public to vote for here?
I did submit my vote via proxy. Mel Got Served always votes for me on her second device, and I voted for Justine and Tyrique, because at the end of the day, I want Justine in a Love Island final. I want her to beat Johnny again. I just need that so badly. So I did ultimately vote for her. I considered voting for Toby and Sydney just because I want Sydney to get success, but then it's like I'm also rewarding Toby. So I couldn't do it. He was such a clown. I couldn't vote for him to be in the final, so had to be Justine and Tyrique for me. What about you, Pooya?
For me, I would have gone the same direction, or I still could go the same direction.
Yeah, voting's open.
Yeah, with Justine and Tyrique. I just feel like Tyrique has provided so much entertainment. Justine comes in as the winner of the last season of this format and is still there. Y'all are idiots for not looking at her, right? And I think that's just a testament to how well she plays the game socially, and the fact that her and Tyrique were able to patch things up and then now be in this position, give them their 9s. They did that. Honestly, I would go Johnny and Garbi next before I go Toby and Sydney. And that's also because, I want to give Johnny a bit of skis ball, has always been, but I want to give credit where credit is due. The man also comes in as the runner-up of the same format, is still there. He should be seen as the biggest threat. The only person that looks to target him is Isaiah and Lucinda, and they rescind that offer very quickly. They don't even look their way again. So I think that is something to heavily consider also. So they would be there for me. Toby and Sydney, the problem is, as I don't want Toby anywhere near success. I want this to blow up in his face and him even having a chance to run it for the finals. I understand that Sydney could get some money, but then the alternative is we just watch as Sydney keeps getting dunked on because everyone hates Toby. And I don't want that. I'm fine to not have that. And I love that Sydney proved him wrong with, that first round performance made him look an absolute idiot. So I think their story's wrapped up to me. So if we're being serious, for me, I have to assume that the public is going to back Justine and Tyrique. I think that's where we're headed. And then I assume Johnny and Garbi beat Toby and Sydney, and that's the 3 teams in the finals. And then we'll see who wins. But I will say it will be very funny if it ends the same way it began, where Justine is our winner, Johnny is our runner-up, and that would be so funny. The wiki would look so funky. Like people would be like, "Am I on the right page? Oh, I am on the right page. Wait, did this happen 2 years in a row? It did happen 2 years in a row." So
that's extremely funny. The only thing I think that would be funnier is if Justine and Johnny had actually coupled up and then she takes the money from him after they win together. That would have also been wonderful to see, though I don't know that Justine necessarily has it in her to take the money.
I think that there's a world where, had we not seen Garbi come out of that gift box, I think there's a world Johnny tries to recruit Justine. I think that's possible. Again, Johnny got so lucky with the draw he got there. He really went from Andrea, who did not seem to be there for the games of it all. She was there for the Love Island of it all, and upgraded to Garbi, who is, again, physically fit, has done the challenge proper. This isn't her first rodeo, and again, massive upgrade. And the two of them combined, still not really being in danger like that, is a sight to behold.
Yeah, it's wild that they did not immediately become huge targets for everyone. And it just goes to show that alliances work. Who would have thought you could just build an alliance and go to the end?
Yep. And you can build them with the right people where they will never question you and be like, nope, I do want to work with this person, even though losing to them is very likely should you go to the end with them.
Absolutely wild. But yes, that is it. We get Josh and Andrea leave at the end. They both like each other. They both live in Miami. They might actually pursue a relationship after this. We don't know for sure. Lucinda's very much see, and this is why the love is important, because even though you didn't win the games, you could still be together. And it's Lucinda, stop. We like you. Don't do this.
I don't know. I'm sour on Lucinda. I'm not really vibing with Lucinda like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like her. I think she's funny. I feel like every episode she says something where you're girl.
Yeah, what? When she was no, I fully respect Toby this episode.
Yeah, and that's where I was Lucinda,
please.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
But it's also she knows Toby from outside of this, right? They have a real life relationship outside of a game. So I feel it's a lot harder for someone who knows him to then be I hate him for what he did to Sydney, where it doesn't seem like she knows Sydney that well. So I can get why she would side with Toby, even though what Toby did was just explicitly so mean. But that's it. That is the last. This is the penultimate recap of Love Island Games. We will get the finale on Sunday night, and Scally and I will be back to break down who wins, who loses, all of that. But before we get out of here, Pooya, is there any other Love Island take that you wanted to share that you didn't get the chance to share?
No, I had fun. I feel Again, I feel like the formatting could use some touch-ups, but even if it didn't, it was still dramatic. And that's really what I come to Love Island for, is the drama, and we did get that in heaps. Would love if it was a little more balanced at the end as far as like alliances and distribution of competitions go, but hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if anyone would like to hear more from you, where can they find you?
They can find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. With podcasts, me and Liana talk every week over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. You can find that. I talk 90 Day Fiance every week. Right now, I haven't told the audience this yet because I haven't recorded yet, but I'm going to be recording 2 more episodes of Happily Ever After, and then I'm going to switch over to The Other Way because I've been vouched for. They said go to The Other Way. So we're going to go to The Other Way after 2 episodes. So that's going to be fun. And then Traders Celebrity UK will be beginning next week, and I will be there ready to talk about it all with Annabelle when that kicks off.
Amazing. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me everywhere at Kirsten Said What. You can listen to Mess Magnets, where myself and Sasha Joseph talk pop culture, celebrity gossip, trending topics. And you can, of course, follow Scally. I believe he's Brian _ Scally most places. He might be Brian Scally on Blue Sky.
Scally on Twitch.
Yeah, Scally on Twitch. Go follow him, give him some love, let him know that you missed him. Though of course Pooya did a great job. Thank you once again, Pooya, for filling in. And we will be back on Sunday night to talk about the finale. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.